I'm outside in the garden today, doing something that I haven't done before. I am potting tomatoes in these cups. And you're probably wondering, what the hell, why? So I have some buckets here that had my, they were the yellow pear tomatoes last year. And I think I had 3 of those that were in the buckets. Well, I decided to let some of the tomatoes fall and dry off and reseed, and so I have these buckets full of volunteers, and I'll flip this around in a minute and I'll show you. But there is a garden exchange in a couple weeks that I want to bring them to so that they can find homes and that someone else can enjoy them, because that's one of the other joys of gardening, is that you get to share. So my little yellow pear tomatoes are finally big enough that I can do this, so I thought I would just show you guys what I'm doing. So this is what it looks like. Probably doesn't look like much to someone who's not trained in what their plants look like, but these are little baby tomatoes. And when they reseed like this and come up, they're called volunteers. I have actually had this happen when I had my chickens. The chickens would poop out the seeds and they would reseed in the lawn. So they can show up in very funny ways. But most of the time, I think it's a little bit more like this, where there's some produce from the previous season that has dropped and it does this. And I have a few more over here. So obviously this is probably, I don't even know, 30, 40 plants that I do not need all to myself. So I'm going to let others adopt them and take them into their garden. I am just using a spoon because it's smaller. I have a cup that I have put some extra soil in. This is soil that was from last year that's coming out of one of the other buckets. And that's what I'm going to use to put the babies in. So these look kind of clumped together because that's how the tomato fell and broke down, and the seeds are kind of clumped together. So you do want to be very, very gentle. And believe it or not, tomatoes are pretty hardy, so don't let it scare you too much. I mean, is it possible that you'll hurt their root system and really hurt them? Yes, that's very possible. But I usually have pretty good luck as long as you are very, very gentle and there's enough roots. And of course, if they're big enough, you don't want to do this if they don't have their first few sets of leaves. So you can see I'm just slowly pulling these apart. See? So there's one little guy. Here's about 3 here that if we're just very gentle. You don't want to tug too much, you know, just enough to get them apart, but you can see, look at all the roots. See? That's good. I don't know how well that's coming into focus there, but and just be very, very gentle. If you can keep some dirt on them, that's good. That won't always happen. Like these ones are coming apart, so let's see. Now I have 4 of these guys. So all I'm doing is taking my cup, putting the soil on the side, laying him in there with his roots at the bottom, and then grabbing some soil, placing it on the other side of him, or her. How do I know it's a him? I'm not sure. And actually this one's probably good enough, just like that. Might center him a little, push it down, and there you go. That's what it looks like. He's just in his own little cup. Now you probably could put some holes in the bottom. I did not. It's easy enough to add after, and these will get watered in their little cups, so I can show you what that looks like afterwards, after I do a couple gabillion of these, because there's quite a few here. So far I've got about 6, so I'm gonna be here a while and I will be back. All right, that's where I ended. I didn't count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, and guess what? I barely touched the surface of that one and didn't even touch that one. So I ran out of cups, but the plan is that I'm hoping to continue separating these out, and this one I've left because he's pretty much in the middle, and I'll let him grow. This one also, this might be one here. He's kind of little, so I'll let him go and see what he does, but this one is right where I need him to be. I might even leave one of these over here, we'll see, so they can get a little bit bigger. But it's always a bonus when they're by themselves. You could scoop up the dirt and everything without disturbing them too much. So, I mean, you can see it's a process, and definitely much harder when they're all connected like this. But I was really excited for this experiment that they lasted and they came back. Now, I do not know if they have been cross-pollinated at all. They were next to my entire garden, so that is a possibility. And we're just going to see what happens. We might get a surprise, and it might not be yellow at all. It might be some weird combination of red and yellow and be orange and striped and polka dot. We'll see. So this last part that I'm doing, because these are small little cups, you can very easily use like an X-Acto knife. You could probably use a regular knife, scissors, although if you use scissors, please be very careful, because I've actually cut this area before, so be very, very careful. Probably better to get something like this that you can have control over, but I'm just gonna put like 3 holes. I'm just twisting, make a little hole, a second little hole, and a 3rd hole, and be very careful. If you think you'll cut yourself, wear gloves. See that? 1, 2, 3. So that way, when I water these, they should not have any issues with holding too much water, because we certainly don't want to hurt their little root system, because they're pretty delicate still. Okay, so there you go. Everybody's watered pretty good. I am going to keep an eye on the weather, because I don't want this box getting wet, and they're already boxed up. So there they all are, and they fit perfectly in that box. I had 1 extra space. If I get more cups, that can go there. So I'm off to go find more cups and see how much more of this I can do, but for the sake of this video, that's it. So that's how I'm transplanting my little yellow pear volunteers.